Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the Shadow Magic Rogue multi-class build in Baldur's Gate 3. This will be combining the Shadow Magic Sorcerer alongside the Rogue, and this has one of the highest burst damage potentials in the entire game, surprisingly. It's a very strong combination, and the Shadow Magic Sorcerer just makes a lot of sense with the Rogue as they're supposed to be stealthy and abuse darkness. So, for the cantrips, I would recommend Booming Blade's an interesting one because sneak attacks can be procced off of this as well, so you can set reactions. Quite a nice extra damage. Mage Hand, you can use this to throw health potions to heal your team or to throw water to set up lightning and cold damage. We also have Shocking Grasp if we need to get away from a target, and Bone Chill to apply disadvantage on attack rolls to undead and stop them from receiving healing, which can make some boss fights a lot easier. For spells, Shield, it's just a great spell to have for survivability's sake, and Magic Missile for guaranteed damage. This is just good to finish off enemies. And for our ability scores, we're going to go with 16 charisma there. We do need a bit of dexterity, obviously, as a rogue, so we're going to take that up to 16 as well. 14 constitution, then 10 intelligence and wisdom. If you prefer, you can swap the dexterity with constitution, but I think that this one works better here. And skill proficiencies always have the persuasion, as that's just going to help out with dialogue. Now, you could also grab the friends cantrip there, as that's going to give us better ability to communicate with targets, but just be mindful after 10 turns, they may become hostile if you're on higher difficulty settings. Level 2 gives us our meta magics, Twin Spell, Twinned Haste, one of the best things in Baldur's Gate 3, and Distance Spell, increasing your spell's range by 50%, which is really good. And we also get to take another spell where I think Ice Knife fits the most thematically. It's about, a rogue, they use knives. Ice Knife can be cast while you're silenced. Pretty useful, and it creates a surface for the enemies to slip on. Level 3 gives us one of the most powerful abilities here, the Eyes of the Darkness. So rogues are meant to be sneaky, and this is one of the most powerful ways to be sneaky because you can set this up, put it in turn-based mode, and you can do anything with darkness, really. So this will make you able to see in darkness. It's one of the best spells in the game, and it uses 2 sorcery points, leaving your spell slots untouched. Now, for level 2 spells, there's a few really good ones. Hold Person, free critical hits at close range, and they skip their turns. The Mirror Image, increase your armor class by 9. Misty Step for the teleportation, but we need damage. Scorching Ray is going to be the best choice for that. And we can also get the Hat of Fire Acuity to stack up spell save DC really easily. We'll also grab Quicken Spell, because bonus action spells, and, the Rogue Thief gets an extra bonus action for more spell casting, so Quicken Spell gets really powerful there. Now, as I mentioned, Friends is a cantrip you can take, but I think Firebolt's good too to explode things, Barrelmancy. And for our next level spell, Hold Person, Misty Step, or Mirror Image, as I mentioned. I like Shadow Blade, and it fits well for a rogue, but not on this build. So we're going to go with Hold Person there. For the feat, I would recommend going with an increase to our charisma or to our dexterity. This depends if you want better spell casting or if you prefer survivability's sake. We're going to go with a charisma increase there. Now into level 5, we get where I think to be the best point to add in the rogue after this, because we get access to level 3 spells here with things like Lightning Bolt, Fireball, and Counterspell all being top tier spells to grab. I like Lightning Bolt just because this is going to it can end up hitting more targets than a Fireball if you line it up well, and lightning damage can be doubled, although don't deny the power of a Fireball. So with that, if you wanted to swap off one of the previous spells, let's say you're not using Ice Knife, you can take it off here, or let's say you're just not using Hold Person, you can swap it out for something different like Counterspell here. You don't have to do this is just a consideration, so I'll leave it untouched, but we're going to swap in and add the Rogue at this point. Or I guess after level 6, if you really want the Hand of Ill Omen, because it doesn't actually, what this does is it gives you your sorcery points back on attacking it after the dog bites it, because it'll apply an omen with its bites. So it could apply, let's say, an omen of ice or cold. Then you're going to have to deal cold damage to the target and you regain 1 sorcery point. This is also permanent, so it lasts after a long rest. So you can summon in the dog right before you rest and get the dog until it goes down. It'll also splinter off into more dogs, and it doesn't scale past level 6, so it's probably best to actually grab it here. And then we can take our Counterspell or Fireball. And as mentioned, Haste is another really good spell. It's probably one of the best spells in the game, but there is a bit of a risk involved with taking it. Now at level 7, this I guess is when we can add in the Rogue. So we get our skill proficiencies. You can go with Stealth. I think Stealth ends up being better because if you have someone else in your team to do Sleight of Hand, like going with a Barbarian and using the Cat's Grace is probably the best choice there. So we can grab our Stealth proficiency and get our Persuasion up even higher, which is really nice as a face of the party. And then we get our bonus action, Hide, Disengage, and Dash at level 2 here. And then level 3, this is the big decision. Do we want... The Arcane Trickster actually won't add much. The Arcane Trickster it's not good, I'll be honest. Mage Hand Ledger de Maw is nice, but we already have a Mage Hand. It doesn't turn invisible, but it's not a big deal. And we won't actually get higher spellcasting progression because this is a 1/3 caster. So even if we add this in, we're not going to get an extra level spellcasting, unfortunately. So at this point, I think it's actually best to go with the Thief because it gives us an extra bonus action, which the Sorcerer can use. The Assassin's cool, but doesn't fit this build. The Swashbuckler, also cool, but doesn't fit this build. The Thief just makes the most sense, extra bonus action, and second resistance to fall damage, which is whatever. With this, we can now do a lot of spells. We can do our normal spell, if we have haste as a second spell, and then use our quicken spell, and then use another quicken spell. It's 4 spells per turn, 4 potential fireballs. And at this next level, I think it's best to bounce back to the Sorcerer. We get one of the best crowd control spells in the game that doesn't require a concentration with Ice Storm, which deals a good amount of damage, upwards of 40, but it creates an ice surface for 2 turns, which is extremely useful. Level 8 here gives us another choice in spell. Confusion's really good too if you want to have a concentration, but we do have Hold Person, so Fireball, Haste, and even going back to take Misty Step are considerations, but I think it's just nice to have Fireball. It's one of the best spells in the game for a reason. And at this point, you can go with an increase to your Charisma or to your Dexterity, and also the Alert feat, because if we can go first with the amount of spells we can cast, that's going to be extremely effective. So +5 to Initiative, never a bad idea. And for our final level here, we get ourselves another sorcery point, and we get level 5 spells here. So this is where we can take Cone of Cold. This is going to be our main damage option. If you really want to take Hold Monster, you can swap out a spell, or if you really want one of the other spells, this is your last chance to replace a spell. I think that a Cone of Cold is all we need, so we're going to go with that. And as for gear, we have a lot of different options. So the Fire Acuity Hat is one of the best that we can go with, because when we deal fire damage, we gain Arcane Acuity. And we can summon that, or do that really quickly with Scorching Ray. Each of these is going to give us 2 stacks of Arcane Acuity, so we can get a +10 to our spell save DC, which currently is sitting at 16, so 8 base CC, 4 from Charisma, and 4 from Proficiency. So yeah, we can get that up to 26, meaning our spells are extremely likely to land. Now, Cloak Protection for better armor class, or if you're the Dark Urge, the Deathstalker Mantle makes a lot of sense here, turning yourself invisible, which then you can give yourself advantage on Scorching Rays. We also got the Penumbral Armor here, giving us a +3 to stealth checks, and it's light armor with 12 armor class. Not going to be the best choice, but we only got light armor proficiency, so you can go with Mage Armor plus a robe, so like the Wave Mother's robe there. If you got the Helldusk Armor, that's going to obviously be the best choice here, because this will give us something that we can use, and it doesn't give us disadvantage on our stealth there. But I think that the best choice, if we got something like the Robe with the Weaves, any type of robes, the Ice Bite robes if you're in Act 2, and then going ahead with taking a Mage Armor so that we get ourselves the +3 to our armor class. So a lot more survivability there, puts our armor class up to 24. And then I have the Gloves of the Belligerent Skies here. Whenever you deal Thunder, Lightning, or Radiant damage, you apply Reverberation on the target. This can also be swapped around if you wanted to with, like, to increase armor class, the Wondrous Gloves will give you a +1 to AC as well, so that would take our armor class up to 25, making us a little bit more survivable. Helldusk Gloves are always a not bad choice, too. And even if we went with something like the Gloves of Dexterity to dump our Dexterity, this will set it up to 18, which is pretty good. So the Gloves of Belligerent Skies is a pretty solid choice, though, overall. And also the Boots of Stormy Clamor for the Reverberation further stacking. You could also, I guess, go with the Winter's Clutches here, stacking Encrusted with Frost, although it does have some issues with stacking it. It's a choice that you can go with, so I'll put that on there, because that'll further stack our Reverberation. So, we also got the Amulet of Greater Health, just for better Constitution and just overall survivability. And it gives us advantage on Constitution saving throws, so we're very likely to hold our concentrations. The Ring of Mental Inhibition here is really nice, so whenever a target fails a saving throw against their spells, they get Mental Fatigue for 2 turns, which makes it easier for us to land our Hold Person, or anything that requires an Intelligence, Charisma, or Wisdom saving throw. The Ring of Protection is a good overall choice. I have the Hell Rider Longbow for the +3 to Initiative. I have the Cold Snap. If you want to go double daggers, this is better in the offhand because it gives you +1 to armor class. I have Iconia's Walking Fortress for a shield there, but Mark Heshker is always going to be the best staff for any type of caster. I would like to, you could also, I guess, go with the dual wielder and then put the dagger in the offhand with this in your main hand, but honestly think Viconia's Walking Fortress just gives us a lot more survivability. So when it comes to combat, we ideally want to set up with our, obviously we got our dog here, and then you can also long rest after the dog, which will give you your sorcery points back, so you can do 3 quicken spells, or you can just have the dog go bite people and get them back yourself. And with a cleric, they can also cast Hero's Feast to take the dog up from 42 to 54 health, and then go with an upcasted aid as well to take it up to 74 health, making Nimbus quite tanky. And Nimbus will split off anytime it gets attacked by an attack that does not have radiant damage and has to be a melee attack, so you can potentially get like 5 or 6 dogs out in the battlefield. And it's a good stealthy doggo to go alongside your rogue sorcerer. Also, Hero's Feast gives you pizza, which is pretty cool too. So we are surrounded by enemies right now. So what we got to do is first think about our defense. Now, one of the best ways to set up defense is actually just to use the Eyes of the Darkness. And on top of that, Ice Storm for the difficult terrain. So finding a spot where you can choke off a point because they can't see through darkness there. So we got 2 targets blinded, which blind counts the stack of reverberation. So that can give you a reverberation stack on a target there. It sometimes only applies to 1. And then we can go into our own darkness for our survivability. Now with this, we want to try and create that difficult terrain so we can drop an Ice Storm if there's any group of targets together. So there's a group of them, so we can go with an Ice Storm there, creating that encrusted with frost on each of the targets, and also giving them mental fatigue, so it's 2 debuffs, and reverberation on the first target that's hit. And it creates a difficult terrain so they can slip and fall, and that's just going to further keep stacking things up. But we got those 2 bonus actions. That's what's great about this. So we can go with a quicken spell, and then go ahead with something like, I guess we didn't use Kreska's Favor. We should have used this before we got into combat, because with Kreska's Favor, you can then go with getting a free Chain Lightning, which is extremely powerful. But we can now cast any spell here, so to make things even crazier, we can set up, this is going to mess up with our darkness, but we're able to hit 5 targets here, so another Ice Storm to create more difficult terrain. I guess it didn't really mess with the darkness. Sometimes it will, but that took out the prime target that we wanted taken out. It applied Crust with Frost and further mental fatigue. And we have 3 sorcery points left, so what we can do with that is there's a bunch of targets right there. We're going to go ahead with another quicken spell, and then go with a lightning bolt. We can upcast that if we wanted to. We're going to hit 4 targets here, so boom, and applying mental fatigue to all of them as well, and that took out 2 more targets. So yeah, 4 spells, 1 turn, pure devastation, and that goes through our spell slots really quickly. So if you're in the Lithid, you got free cast and Arcane Battery to give you 2 more level 5 spells that you can upcast, things like lightning bolt or fireball to give yourself. So a lot of usefulness there. And on Nimbus's turn, what we want to do is get our extra sorcery points back with the Ominous Bite. Now, it does have the greatest hit chance, usually around 65% once you get to higher levels. It also has the Umbral Tangle, which can group enemies into place, but it thrives because it gets the ability to see in darkness, but it can slip on ice, so just watch it for that. And oddly enough, they will only throw at you. They won't do normal melee attacks or spell casting. And as I mentioned, that's a good way to stack further reverberation, because slipping on ice will count as a spell. We also have counterspell there. Healing spells aren't really a threat, but things like command and hold person are ones that we want to counterspell. So you can always ignore those. You can also, if you have the Lithability Sonic Backlash, that can actually deal quite a bit of damage too. So it's something as well. And back to our turn. So all 3 of them slipped on ice, ending their turns, which is great. It's exactly what we want. We can get rid of the ice surface because it's going to disappear after the next turn. So then we can go with a fireball right on top of them. It'll hopefully take out all 3 of them. And we're good. That was a complete finisher there. So exactly what we wanted. And then for our next action, we can go with another fireball. It's always a good choice to go with a fireball, especially you can hit 3 targets with a single one. I think I'm able to, yeah, we got 3 of them there. That got rid of our ice surface, but that was fine. We also don't got enough sorcery points to be able to cast a free spell, so we'll just end our turn there. And then with this, we also got our dog, so Ominous Bite, trying to set it up. It's saved on the Omen, that sucks. That's not what we wanted, but we'll pull that back. Try to proc an opportunity attack, because then we can do the Shadow Splinter here. And then if you got a Cleric, they can heal back your dog's health points that it lost. These dogs will work or move freely, so that's one of the things about them, is that you don't have to control them, making it a lot easier. And they'll go around also splintering off every time they get attacked, so we do kind of want melee attacks if the attacks aren't going to hurt the dog too much, because then you're just going to have more summons to be able to deal with the enemies there. And they will use the Umbral Tangle freely as well, which is pretty nice. So they can root down and create some crowd control for your own team. And back to our turn here. So we were lucky to get 3 of them grouped together. So we have things like with the Marka Heshker here, the Chain Lightning, which we can then use, and that's going to be good to hopefully wipe out these 3 here. If we want to, we could have set that water into mist and then applied water with it. It actually didn't finish them off. They have 4 health left. So what we're going to do is, I guess that's the last target there. We didn't deal much fire damage, so we didn't get our spell save DC up too high when we have a +3 right now, but we can just go all in on one of these. Free cast is a really useful thing to have, because that gives you more level 5 spell slots. Any way that you can get more of that is good. So there we go. We got our +10 to Arcane Acuity. So typically we do want to start with a Scorching Ray there, because that gives us that +10. So that's literally a 28 spell save DC. Extremely useful. The rogue gives us that extra bonus action. You can see how devastating that is because we got our crowd control up. We got surfaces down. We had a lot of damage on the first turn, which is enough to wipe out all the enemies quickly. I love the sorcerer, and it's such a powerful combination. The shadow magic is a great multi-class with the rogue. You do sacrifice level 6 spells, but with Marka Heshker, that's not too much of a worry. You still get a 1 chain lightning, and then the free cast of your Cone of Cold, which is your other main damage option. This pairs well with the Tempest Domain Cleric. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below, and I'll see you all in the next video.